Arizona police released a video today that shows a police officer, Philip Brailsford, in a hallway. I don't know where this occurred. I didn't read the details of the case. He has two people in the hallway. It looks like a hotel of some type. Both young, both white. You can hear it's a girl. She's out of sight of the camera because where the camera is positioned is on the officer's assault rifle. But you can hear her voice. You can tell it's a girl. But Brailsford is shouting out instructions. Kneel down, put your head down, put your hands over your head. And not even in the way that I did, but almost rapid fire, one after the other. When the girl is there, his instructions are, if you can believe this, you have to see the video, but if you can believe this, a bit more tempered and reasonable, even though still delivered in a way that makes him out to be a complete psychotic. And so he says to the girl, he says, get up and keep your hands behind your back. And there's an officer there. You can tell because someone else has clasped this young lady and gotten around. And the officer says, is she clear? He says, yeah. So while the other officer's doing whatever he's doing with that woman, this young white guy is on the ground, but in the process, his feet, which were crossed, I guess somehow you uncrossed them, and he was still down. Okay, head still down. The officer notices and just goes into this raging tirade. I told you to keep your feet crossed. I told you to keep your feet crossed. And he goes through these instructions again. Keep your head down. Keep your hands clasped over your head, which they already were. He didn't need to repeat that. The guy sounded like a raging psycho. And so after he goes through these instructions again, keep your eyes down. Don't look at me. Now, look at me. Look up. Raise up to a kneeling position, which I guess means on your knees, right? So he does. He goes, raise them up, raise them. Okay, okay. Oh. Put your hands up. All the way up. And then he says, if you miss my instructions, and the kid who's obviously frustrated says, I'm trying to follow your instructions, but you're saying them too fast. And he says, well, come toward me. Listen, he says, come toward me. So he, gets us, don't get up. And he shoots him. Not once, but several times. Psycho. I mean, every time I think that maybe the society isn't as sick as I thought it was, something like this happens, and it brings me back to thinking this society is as sick as I thought it was. And we have media to show us that now. Consider that we didn't have this kind of technology in the past. So we didn't possess what social media has allowed us to have, a true mirror, or as true as is possible right now, it's becoming truer, of how society really, really is. That was bad. And yet he was acquitted for murder. Why was he acquitted for murder? Because they said the charge was first-degree murder. It wasn't manslaughter. So what they did is an overreach. The kind of overreach that, well, that caused Katie Steinle's accidental murderer to be acquitted. And he was accidental because the bullet ricocheted. He didn't really have the gun. He picked up the bag and the bag went off. That's a different story. But in that instance, the prosecution reached for first-degree murder. They couldn't get first-degree murder. Same case here, the prosecution, and they do this in a lot of police cases, they reach for first-degree murder knowing they're not going to get it, knowing that it's going to be acquitted, as opposed to manslaughter. The only time that, maybe one of the few times that wasn't the case, was Philip Slager, who's now in jail for 20 years for shooting an unarmed black man in the back who was running away from him because he didn't know what was going on. Poor man. That's really sad. Over a traffic stop. That's all it was over. A traffic stop. Just a traffic stop. Excuse me. We have to stop this stuff.